Sometimes when I'm thinking about us, before we got lost and we parted, back to back we would carry on and we'd do anything for what we started. But this time we could break. I'm running dry, everything's the same. We'll try tonight, this time we're not safe and sound. Not safe and sound. What if I'm no good for you? What if you're no good for me? Yeah. What if I'm no good for you? What if you're no good for me? Yeah. Sometimes when I'm reasoning about us, I know you got me, it's so effortless. Back to back we would carry on and we'd do anything for what we started. But this time we could break. I'm running dry, everything's the same. We'll try tonight, this time we're not safe and sound. Not safe and sound. What if I'm no good for you? What if you're no good for me? Yeah. What if I'm no good for you? What if you're no good for me? Yeah. What if I'm no good for you? What if you're no good for me? Yeah. What if I'm no good for you? What if you're no good for me? Yeah. What if I'm no good for you? What if you're no good for me? Yeah. What if I'm no good for you? What if you're no good for me? Yeah. What if I'm no good for you? What if you're no good for me? Yeah. What if I'm no good for you? What if you're no good for me? Yeah. What if I'm no good for you? What if you're no good for me?
What's up, everybody? It's so good to be back. Back doing the news. Oh, Blunty, did you miss me?
Yeah, I did actually.
I
I
missed
tell
you
you
too.
what,
Yeah.
I still can't see your face. So real quick, we got to address a technical issue.
Wait,
if
you
I
can't
could.
see my face? We gotta
could see your
if I-
face.
Am I not? The virtual camera's going. Oh no, hang on.
Bear
Oh
with
yeah,
us
no,
one
you
minute.
gotta. Let me see.
It's an important part of the show.
It is, but were you trying to tell me about that while the song was going?
Yes.
And I couldn't hear you because I was muted. I was just jamming. What can I fucking?
Bear with. Welcome back, everybody, to the news.
Oh, here we go.
On Tuesdays that we do. The
about
FPV
that?
news. All right. Much better. Thank you very much, sir.
Is it better though? Depends on your perspective. Welcome back. It is good to be back. I'm happy
Yeah.
to be back from the land of maple syrup and moose. I was fortunate enough to be in one of the hottest. They told me one of the hottest weeks up there. I show up and expect it was beautiful though. I really liked it. They were like, "Oh, it's so humid," and I was like, "Y'all don't fucking know." From humid.
Nice.
But I felt like I missed so many important things that happened, and that's why I'm glad to be back here for the news.
Yeah. Not too many important things, but we do have some big stories to talk about, including something involving you.
Yeah.
And remote ID.
Oh, I wonder what that could be.
What could
Kim
that be?
Fust says, F-bomb number 1, it's going to be a great show. Yeah, I had an old-fashioned that had maple syrup and Argavel Scotch in it. I think I'm getting the name wrong. I'm not really much of a Scotch drinker. So it was Canadian whiskey, Scotch, and maple syrup with orange bitters. And I was like, okay,
Yeah.
I'm moving to Canada. It's fucking good. Oh, that's 2. All right, but we are going to get into the news, and we were going to start with. Let's actually start not with our first story, Blunty, but with the story that people thought we should cover that we're not going to cover. You can just tune out if that pisses you off, I guess. Which is the Apple headset, and I only say that because Cat and Bry is like, "Oh, Apple headset, important news! FPV is obsolete." Is the Apple headset FPV news? Are we just being stupid by not?
Currently, no, I don't think so. I mean, I would say currently, no, it's not FPV news. Hey, it's another headset. Apple, for whatever reason, has decided to make a $3,500 headset that barely anybody will buy.
Yeah, it's cool. I mean, if you want to start branching out into tech news,
so
I mean, I don't know. Maybe.
Sorry, we should probably tell people what this is. Apple announced.
Okay.
A headset, I just realized, yeah. So Apple has announced a headset. If somehow you haven't seen, everybody on the internet seems to have. Apple announced a VR headset today or yesterday, I'm not sure. That is basically a mixed reality headset. So that's AR and VR. So you can be in VR, or you can do pass-through to be like some of the other goggles can do pass-through, so you can see everything around you. Apparently they have a very good pass-through system, but they also have pass-through for your eyes, and there's a screen on the outside, so you can see if the person's looking at you through pass-through, if they're inside the VR. Otherwise, it seems to be just a super light, all packaged in form factor. It's got I think the Apple M2 in it.
I checked out MKBHD's video about him, which I thought really, it's a cool product. I just don't, and we're not just picking on Cat and Bry here, because there were a whole bunch of people who emailed you, and I guess we should do what our listeners want. And, instead of just being like, no, it's not FPV news. But we didn't think it was FPV related enough to include it. And I don't know. Maybe we should branch out more. Maybe that's what our viewers want from us, is to hear our opinions on other things. I gotta say, before we start covering Apple headsets, we're going to start talking about fishing. We're going to talk about video games. I mean, I got a list of things we can add to the topic, but it's just not there.
Very true.
So... Fair enough. Let's see here. We got a super chat from Zing from iFlight. 20 euro super chat from Zing. You know what? I know why he's super chatting us. He liked our comments about the taking. I mean, he's probably just being supportive, but he did comment after last week, 2 weeks ago's news, where we talked about iFlight taking down their presets repo, and he basically said, "Yes, thank you guys. That's why we took it down and why we put the new one up." So maybe he's just showing us support. Thank you so much for that. And Stevetrix, we're going to get to you, Stevetrix, with the other super chats, because yours actually requires some thought and an answer, and we'll get to those at the end of the stream. But let's get... Go ahead, sorry.
Kilo Zebra says fishing video games, and yes, that's also in the wheelhouse.
Oh, Lord. How many hours do you have on Russian Fishing Simulator, Blunty? What do you got?
About 1,400 at this point.
Yeah. If there's one thing Blunty can talk about, it's fishing video games.
Yeah, and video games in general, but definitely fishing video games.
Yeah. I'm not sure how much I'm up for talking about Russian fishing. A little. Let's move on to the first story, which is, we are not clickbaiting. We're clickbaiting a little bit. Well, DJI hasn't been banned for real, but every time in the past when someone has covered a story that, DJI banned in the United States, they've been wrong. Do you want to tell the people why they're wrong? Why they have been wrong?
Yeah. So up to this point, essentially DJI has been added to a couple different lists, and these lists are affecting things like the Department of Homeland Security purchasing drones, or the Department of Justice purchasing drones. We've also seen local areas like Florida has banned DJI drones, but only for the purchase of government employees, and people who are getting federal funding for that. So that federal funding can't be used for these drones. But this is kind of a change in that, because if this bill goes through, which this bill is still got to go through the House and the Senate, it's just been introduced. But however, if this does go through, then this sets a different kind of precedent, because previously we've been dealing with, like we said, Department of Homeland Security and DOJ and all these kind of government entities.
Specific federal agencies or federal employees couldn't use DJI drones or couldn't buy them, but individual consumers could still buy them as usual. And so it's all been much ado about nothing. And in some ways, Blunty, this is similar, because the actual bill, the bill does basically add DJI to the restricted entities list. But there's been another change that changes the implication of that.
Yeah, so essentially, the bill text just kind of adds in a section. There's a section in the code. You have it here, I believe. It's section C is the part of the code we want to look at. And there's a list down there on section C that shows us all the different things under it that are requirements. So if you scroll down a little farther, not that one, sorry, the big set. Yeah, there you go. So 1, 2, 3, and 4 here are the reasons that the FCC is putting things on the entity list. Sorry, we should call it the covered list, because I believe that's the technical term here. This bill adds a number 5. And number 5 in this bill, which is very different than the rest of this bill, as you can see here, says specifically, calls out DJI and asks them to be added to the list, and also any services provided by them to be added to the list directly through the bill text, which is kind of interesting.
And the reason that this is not just more clickbait like we've sort of picked on in the past is that there's been another change to the FAA authorization program, which says...
FCC authorization program. So the FCC authorization, if you click that report and order PDF, we can see the text of it. But basically, this goes through and says, hey, if you are, if you're on this covered list, then we're not going to approve your stuff in the U.S. anymore. And this is what happened to Huawei, ZTE, and some of the other companies that they've put on this covered list. And we haven't seen anybody else be added to this covered list up to this point. It's just been these companies, and they've been added to the entity list, covered entity list, which is a different list. There's a bunch of different lists going on in the Department of Homeland and the Department of Justice and stuff. But this will be the first time, if this gets added, that it would essentially cause the FCC to stop approving devices under Part 15 in the United States by DJI, and that would mean that it's not legal for sale to consumers anymore without a ham license or some kind of special use requirement.
So theoretically, we all, as FPV hobbyists, a lot of us use equipment that doesn't have a Part 15 certification, and we do that under Part 97, which is the ham license rules. Now, realistically, I know many of us also don't have a ham license and just go, who cares? I'll just do what I'm going to do. I understand that. But if you're playing by the rules. And so theoretically, DJI could continue to sell their stuff, but only to people who could use it legally would be people with a ham license. And of course, for that would be a death blow for DJI in the United States. They rely on the fact that their stuff is easy to use without, without registration requirements. Well, I mean, you have to register for DJI, so they have your info, but you don't need to have a ham license or anything like that. You just buy the DJI and you can fly it and you have a good time. So that's why, and I saw some of you in the comments be like, oh yeah, so your title's clickbait too. Read the title carefully. It says DJI might actually be banned this time. It's true. If this bill goes through with the change to the FCC rules that occurred, I think it was in February of this year, then DJI would not be able to get Part 15 certification, and essentially it would be very difficult to impossible for them to sell. Certainly at the the FCC is not going to be like, yeah, DJI, I guess you're selling 80 billion drones a year just to people with a ham license.
Yeah, for context, if we could think back, part of the reason that we saw Hobby King get in trouble was advertising of devices. And so DJI currently advertises to market consumers. They have, whoever's out there, and they're advertising to those people. But you can't do those advertisements anymore because you can't sell to those people. It's very specifically like their whole market scheme and how they build the DJI in the States is to push this, like, hey, go out and fly your Mavic Mini and record your trips and all these kind of things that would happen. And this would basically prevent them from advertising in that way and selling in that way. You can't just maybe you can, but you probably have to have disclaimers if you drop one of those boxes in Best Buy and try to sell it in a Best Buy. You know, it's going to be a totally different experience. So.
Now, one of the questions here from Smokey Bear and a similar question from Kim Fused. Smokey Bear asks, would current gear be illegal too? And the answer, and Kim Fused asks, would our current air units be banned? And the answer to both of those questions is no, but for different reasons. Your current gear already has a Part 15 certification. That certification is good, although it's worth pointing out, if you put custom antennas on your DJI goggles, your Part 15 certification is out the window because you've modified them, and the Part 15 certification is only if you did the ham unlock, your Part 15 is out the window. Now, you probably don't care about that, and neither does anyone else.
Yeah.
But theoretically, you should have a ham license if you've made those changes.
Yeah, realistically, the impact here isn't that you cannot operate it anymore because it's not Part 15, because most people won't care. The realistic part is you cannot sell these and market them in the same way in all the same places for the same cost because of scale that you did before if they're not allowed to be Part 15 anymore. I think that's the more the concern there.
And as for the air units are also Part 15 certified, but like everyone I know does the ham unlock or the 1200 milliwatt unlock or, you know, uses them. So for FPV hobbyists, this is really moot. It's really more about DJI's hobby drones, which are marketed to people who don't have a ham license. And if they were not Part 15 certified, and then people who have ham licenses buy them and modify them, and the FCC doesn't care because, you know, that's such a small fraction of the total sales. But if none of DJI's drones had a Part 15 certification, there's no way they could market them to the general consumers in the US. And that's why this isn't going to happen. Like, this is a law that was proposed by someone to make a political point. It's not going to pass, realistically, right?
Probably not, but we don't know. And one of the things I'll say is we didn't think things like this would happen ever, really. And instead, we saw Florida entirely ban all drones by their government employees. Like nobody nobody can operate a DJI drone legally if they're a government entity currently. And they basically got emergency funding from the state of Florida to pay for drones that are U.S. blue serviceable, like made or whatever, so that they're legal. They basically dumped a ton of money into this to have them buy drones that are worse than all of them say are worse for the jobs that they're doing, so that they could not be operating DJI anymore. So
I just hope that the federal government of the United States is slightly more based in reality than Florida. Sorry, Florida.
We hope so, but we're seeing other states start to turn as well, unfortunately. And we can kind of transition. That's why I packed in this last part in this story here. This kind of expands to talk about the rest of the U.S. Like we're talking about Florida here. And this is an article by Drone DJ that talks about, the reports are saying basically it's devastating to do this to DJI drones in the United States. You know, and that shouldn't come as it will come as no surprise that political efforts have been afoot to get rid of this. But I mean, everybody's using these things, and everybody uses them because they're better than the other options. Like they're not cheaping out and buying DJI because they're cheap. They're buying them because they operate properly and they do the job that they're trying to get them to do. So unfortunately, we've seen a lot of states start to do this. I know there's a plan in Texas to do this. Arkansas has been pushing this. Alabama has legislation on this. Florida has already done this. I mean, it's just getting pretty ridiculous at this point. And they quote some statistics in here from a Forbes piece that talks about how big this would be. And essentially, they said in New Jersey, of 550 drones, 440 were DJI and 65 were Autel.
Yeah.
So they're using 45 US made drones, out of their whole fleet. Same with DJI. Over half of their US were affected because they weren't, they're all DJI. So it's just unfeasible. It's moving so quickly, and there's not been a lot of fight against it because it's happening so fast. So yeah, it is definitely a concern.
It would be shocking to me if DJI lacked the lobbying power to prevent a bill from going through that would essentially lock it out of probably one of the largest markets in the world. Like, if I don't believe, my first line of defense is that this is so patently stupid that it's hard for me to believe the federal government would pass it. But hey, the federal government, continues to impress with its ability to do things that I thought previously unimaginable. But my second line of defense is my belief that multi-billion-dollar global companies gonna lobby and buy their way to getting what they want. So I still think this is unlikely. I mean, the fact that it's been proposed at all is, I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, there's always someone willing to propose some stupid bill just to make a political point that they know will never pass. This one is unique, though. This is the first time that it actually might ban them.
Yeah, that it would actually affect consumers. So we'll keep an eye out on it, and we'll let you know as it passes or fails in the other locations. Normally we follow some of these things with GovTrack or different bill aggregators that look through and try to gauge the chance of the bill happening, but unfortunately this one is too early to really get that information. So
all right, well, we'll keep our eyes on it, and you'll keep watching the FPV news to keep up with it. Did you like that little stinger right there?
Yeah.
No, you didn't. Okay, we ready to move on?
Yes, let's move on to I mean, I was going to say more exciting news, but it's really not. It's sort of depressing / what we expected / yeah.
I had high hopes.
Yeah, we had high hopes, but we did talk about why we thought it would be rejected. So unfortunately, Bardwell's house, your house, got rejected as a FRIA location. And we did expect this because it's a private property. We talked before about how they said they would deny all private properties. And we have seen that. I could say from our side on the FPV Freedom Coalition, we've had quite a few at this point denials of FRIAs, and not only ones that are at private residential properties, for many other reasons as well. And I know some of the other CBOs are seeing this in the same way.
Yeah, I love how, as explained, allowing FRIAs in every backyard would undermine the benefits of remote identification generally. No shit. No shit. That's the point. That's why I wanted a FRIA in my backyard. Also, quote, there really need to be quotes around this benefits of remote identification, such as they are. Also, I reject the idea that my home is a housing development. I'm sorry. Have you been to my neighborhood, FAA? My neighborhood is it's not a housing development. Okay. But, it is, yeah. They may negatively impact the safety and security of persons and property on the ground. You mean like I have been doing for the past 5 years with no incident at all? But,
like you can still do when you put a remote ID transponder on, nothing changes.
Remote ID transponder is not going to stop me from flying over their houses, which I generally don't do, by the way, because I'm concerned about their safety and security.
We previously discussed the FRIA PEA, which is a programmatic environmental assessment that people are going to have to do for each of the FRIAs that get approved. I mean, yeah, the idea that any of this is necessary is crazy, but part of the thing they say in the PEA is, is this, they go through a bunch of different things, and it doesn't stop at, is this already a flying site, and will this be a flying site with remote ID? Because you got to think about it. For some reason, they're saying that it doesn't matter if there's endangered birds here if you're going to fly with remote ID. It only matters if you don't have remote ID, right? They're not banning you from flying in that spot. They're just saying you can't fly here unless you have remote ID. Yeah. So it really makes zero sense.
It makes zero sense.
It makes zero sense. I mean, there's not even a semblance of attempting to make sense. Yeah.
I mean, the sentence is grammatically sound, but, we can't let you fly without remote ID because it might impact the safety and security of the people in your neighborhood. That doesn't follow. That doesn't follow.
You're telling me that I'm going to break the rules. That's what you've assumed, right? Because I'm marking out my land. And why is my land any worse or better based on remote ID? The goal of remote ID is to identify me in other places. I'm over my property, right? Like, so it's
pretty clear when there's a drone buzzing around my house who it belongs to. That's a really good point, Blunty. The point of remote ID is to identify the person flying the drone. That's all it does. It doesn't stop you from flying in a legal or illegal location. It only identifies you when that happens. If
And
I'm
aircraft
flying,
have no way to see it. So it's not like it helps the aircraft that are above your house.
if my house was a FRIA and I flew over my neighbor's house, I would be violating the rules because I would be outside of the FRIA. So marking my house as a FRIA doesn't in any way affect the safety and security of my neighbors. I would still need remote ID to fly over them.
It's It's basically, I mean, it's really hypocrisy.
It's just bullshit. It's bullshit.
Yeah, it's
bullshit. Okay, well,
yeah. I mean, we're expecting this to keep happening. Also, just so anybody knows, there has not been any accepted FRIAs. The FRIAs will not be accepted.
No, not any AMA fields?
No, because the PEA needs to be complete before we see an acceptance. So the programmatic environmental assessment has to be finished. Like there was a comment period that has ended. They've got to go through now and post it. And then once it gets posted, I think it's like 60 days, and then they can start working on it after there's time for people to like sue over it or whatever, however it works. So we don't expect to see FRIAs approved until a month or less before the date, September 16th.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, when remote ID first was floated, there were plenty of people who said F this and checked out and just, threw the middle finger. And my attitude has been, we're going to keep fighting to try to see what we can get and try to make things as good as they can be. And I still feel that way and value that work. The work that people like you, Dave Messina, the FPV Freedom Coalition, attending gobloads of meetings and phone calls and writing reports and letters and yada, yada, yada.
I just want to say, literally just getting in the same room together all the time and talking about this to figure out what the heck is even going on, I think is just, it's just crazy, right?
I feel like there's been some benefit to that, but at the same time, it's pretty clear that a lot of the concessions that it seemed like we were going to get have not really panned out. Like when remote ID, the existence of FRIAs is a concession to people who say, I can't put a remote ID transponder on my aircraft for various reasons. They're like, okay, well, you can fly out of FRIA. But if they're not going to actually make any FRIAs, then that concession is meaningless.
Yes. Oh, already lost it.
Yeah. Alrighty. Well, we're going to keep fighting. Solo says, sorry, you were all played.
Oh.
I mean, what would we have done differently? I don't think anybody said, I guess we will take the FAA at their word and assume they're operating in good faith. Oh, no! That turned out not to be true.
RDQ literally sued them. I mean, the narrative that nothing can be done, so nobody should have tried is ridiculous. Like, if you want to be that way, you can. But we would like to attempt to make a change and attempt to try to change things, and we have some ways.
No one was played.
There's a lot of language in a lot of these rules, and there's a lot of ways that these things have been formed that are different because of the impacts that we've had. One thing we just saw is the BVLOS ARC, request for comment is what it is. And the request for comment specifically talks about shielded operations, which was not in the FAA's vocabulary before Dave Messina brought it in and put it into the BVLOS ARC. Yeah. And now they are considering shielded operations to be possible in the future. Shielded operations, for people who don't know, is flying under trees means you're not, basically, you're not concerned with right-of-way for planes. They still seem to misunderstand it in their request for comment, but that's part of the request for comment. Is hopefully we can explain to them their misunderstandings about it. So
yeah. Yeah, I'm annoyed that. Oh well, we'll just rant about this for an hour. That would be terrible. I'm annoyed that the people who said this is bullshit. The FAA is not operating in good faith. They're never going to give us what we want, and therefore I'm checking out, and I'm just going to throw the middle finger and be a rebel. And there are other people who said, I acknowledge that the FAA may not act in good faith and doesn't want to give us what we want, but I'm going to still engage and try to fight and see what we can get. And then at the end of that, when the FAA turns out to have acted in bad faith, the people who threw the middle finger and checked out are like, you guys are chumps. It's like, we're not chumps. because we also knew that they might not be operating in good faith. We weren't going in with stars in our eyes. I say we as if I actually did any of the real work. It's really you guys like at the FPVFC. And the people who are just like, F this, I'm out. In some ways, I mean, if we're chumps, they're quitters.
Right.
Which is better.
Yeah. I'll just say on a day-to-day basis, you guys definitely don't have a perspective on, I mean, especially with comments like that, on what has changed based on the presence of people like us talking for our hobby. Because it would be a lot worse if we weren't there stopping the language that would have been interjected into every one of these ARCs over and over again. That Dave Messina fought and argued with people and has made almost a name for himself in a bad way at this point, because people know who he is and he's going to argue because he cares about the rights of us. And so I would just say we would be doing news stories about how terrible the language is in insert rulemaking thing here, but we're not, because those were removed because Dave was there to make sure they weren't there. So
Claymore FPV, both the quitters and the chumps are correct that the FAA is not operating in like good faith and it doesn't intend to give us everything we want. Both approaches are aware of that. It's just one person says, despite the fact that this guy doesn't want to give me what I want, I'm going to keep fighting. And the other side says, I don't think I can win this fight, so I'm going to check out and try to escape.
I would
between those two, I know which one I think is more honorable.
I would suggest there's probably three, because there's people who don't care about complying at all, and that's fine, right? So this would never have any effect on you either. So who cares?
Until you get caught.
Right. But at the end of the day, they aren't going to care regardless of changes that were made or anything. They're not going to do any of them. It'll just be maybe better for them when they get caught. Then there's another group of people who say, hey, these are terrible things. We don't want to do them, so we're not going to participate. And I think that's the kind of group of people you're speaking to, which is like, I totally get that you don't want to do anything about it, but some of us did. And this isn't a black and white situation, as already explained. There were changes that were made that you weren't aware of because they didn't go into the language. Right. And now those changes aren't part of it. So now it's better for the people who do care about compliance.
What you're saying, I think, is that it's easy to see the ways in which groups like the FPVFC lost. Because this new rule comes out and it contains the bad things that you fought against, and therefore you failed to have them removed. But it's easy to miss the victories because the bad things that would have happened if you hadn't fought didn't happen, and therefore no one knows that they exist.
I would suggest one of the big things we're concerned about right now, something we just talked about, which is the the counter UAS arc. So the arc that basically is going to be, hey, we need to figure out how to get rid of drones in the sky, like counter the UAS in different situations. We tried really hard to get on that committee so that we could fight the bad language that will inevitably be injected into that bill. Yeah. However, the only people related to anybody on that is the AMA. So we don't expect them to fight like we do in those situations, and unfortunately, unless we can get in there as subject matter experts somehow, and even then you don't want to like ruin your chances because you're there on somebody else's accord. You don't want to be too argumentative. We can't fight for the changes that we want to fight for. So there's a lot going on there, and
we're gonna wrap this up. I feel like we talked about this long enough. I want to say it bums me out to see I don't have a negative judgment of people who say this is a hopeless lost cause. I'm just going to do my thing. I don't. Like, everybody has to decide what fights they want to take on for themselves. But I do really, it annoys the shit out of me when people like Dave and the FPV Freedom Coalition and you sign up to fight a absolutely unwinnable battle against inconceivable odds, bust their ass to do it, make tiny incremental gains, and get called chumps when they don't overwhelmingly come out victorious. It's like, well, I guess that bugs the shit out of me, because which is easier, fighting or saying, I'm out of here, I'm just going to do my thing. It's harder to fight. And for those who choose to fight, I respect that. So,
all right.
Okay, let's. I tell you what we're gonna do. We're gonna go. It's the bottom of the hour. We got to go into our plugs. We're gonna do some plugs.
I still think that's a crazy way to describe a half hour.
The bottom of the hour. What do you mean?
It's crazy.
Why is it crazy? That's what they say in radio.
Yeah.
Because the bottom, the minute hand points down. It's the bottom of the hour.
But then it's half the other hour. It points up. I mean, I get what you're saying, but does
it's
that
coming
just mean
around to the top of the hour.
Fair enough. Okay.
You're saying the bottom of the hour should be like after 15 and before 45?
Yeah. Yeah.
But what's the very bottom of the hour?
Sure.
No one ever says the left side of the hour, do they? Or the right side?
No.
Okay. We're going to do our plugs real quick, and then we'll get back to the news. And we're going to start with a plug for my website, fpvknowitall.com, home of the ultimate FPV shopping list, where you can find all my recommendations for parts in various categories. Whenever you're wondering what flight controller, what motor, whatever would Bardwell recommend, or when you're wanting to research, like which control link is for me. We've got a ton of information here about how to pick stuff, what and why to pick it, and what's best for you. So keep that on your bookmarks.
Yeah. We've also got ItsBlunty.com, which is my website where you can go for one-on-one troubleshooting or to join my Patreon. But yeah, I do troubleshooting. You can send me a message on Discord. Email is dead. I know everybody likes to use email. I think email is dead. Please message me and add me on Discord. It makes everything so much easier. I can get your notification immediately. You can get help maybe in 5 minutes. It's crazy.
Discord is... Yeah, but Discord... sorry to interrupt your plug. Discord doesn't have the ability to search your DMs.
Yeah, but I don't care.
So, like, let's say I got a DM from somebody and they're like, hey, Bardwell, I want to buy that, that you've got for sale. And now 50 DMs later, I don't remember who that was. Can't find it. Can't find it. But you're screwed. It's gone forever.
Yeah, but that's not... Okay, fair enough. But that's not really what I use Discord for, right? So...
Okay, but you know what? Do you know what Gmail can do? Find emails from my boss from 2002.
Sure.
Okay, sorry.
You know what else?
I couldn't let this email slander stand.
Be horribly slow and then get spam in it, and then I get notifications for all of them, so I turn off my notifications, and I don't know you emailed me until 4 days later.
Definitely turn off notifications.
Discord, you can still leave notifications on, and that's why it's valuable. So.
You can, not me.
Fair enough.
That's just because the only reason you think Discord is better is because you don't actually use it very much. You just, as soon as you reach a critical mass of messages, you will realize that email's better.
Yeah, I would say you're in a 0.01% of people who can't use Discord. Most people can.
Okay, sorry. I just want to... Okay. It's good to be back, Blunty.
All
right. We also want to give a little plug here for the Livestream Clips channel, where we take clips from my live streams and put them up here for you to be able to see the highlights. Oh, Bardwell behind the scenes. Oh, I don't even see. I didn't even know some of these. Yeah, we'd love to have you as a subscriber. Yeah, we're so close to breaking 10K. So that is linked down below. And lastly, searchfpv.com is a multi-store FPV search engine. If you want to search for stores in your region, you can even search for in-stock items. Just put in what you're looking for. 8S GNB battery. Select all. I don't even want in stock. I couldn't find this freaking battery when I posted the 8S video today. Suddenly, everyone who was carrying it didn't have it anymore. Except you could buy it direct from GNB. Race day quads. 8. Oh, interesting. In stock. Hello. Searchfpv.com. That's what it's good for. Okay.
All right.
Let's move on.
All right. Next up, we're going to move into our spotlights. Our first spotlight I thought was pretty cool. We've seen some new sims come and go out there, and we are at some point going to take a look at those. But we have one that I thought we had to mention because it's an idea I have not seen before. And it kind of goes to the video game thing. We've shown like GTA 5 or GTA 4 rather. They have a simulator. Is it 4? Either way, where you can fly around with a drone inside of the game. And then we've had a couple other things kind of like that. But Globe Explorer is a drone simulator where you can fly inside of Google Earth in any location with their 3D mapping.
Can we watch this video? Gonna turn the music off just in case there's any issue there. Oh, wow. I mean, there's some cities with pretty detailed mapping. That's badass. That's badass.
If you
That's
have
really
somewhere
cool.
that's mapped even fairly well, I think you could probably fly somewhere you wouldn't expect to be able to fly. And at least, obviously it's not looking beautiful, but it is pretty cool to be able to fly these areas.
Well, that's really cool. $5, huh?
Yeah.
All right. That's pretty cool. I wonder how the actual physics is. Who knows? That's not the point, though. We got another one, and this one, Blunty, I confess I'm not even going to try to guess what it is. It is a Lidar height-controlled RC car FPV drone. What the hell is that? I don't even know.
Yes. So, we could find out here, but essentially what you see there. Just being flown with a controller here. We looked at something similar to this, like an early project I believe Nicholas Rehm did. We've also looked at a lot of other Nicholas Rehm projects where he's done pretty cool stuff. He did that wing thing where it was 3 wings spinning and it was flying and stuff. But yeah, this one's set up so that essentially it uses LiDAR to maintain a distance from the ground, uses the propeller in the back to push, and then he simply uses the RC controller to go forward and backwards and left and right, just like you would an RC car. And it maintains distance automatically through flight controller code that he developed.
This looks so cool.
It's very neat.
This looks so cool.
This is something I could see Chinese companies picking it up and trying to make as a
Oh
product.
my god, yes. Oh my god. And on some level, I'm like, well, I could just fly an FPV drone. But like, it's different when you're steering it like a car and it's sliding around. It's different. Okay, this is all cool. I want to see it fly some more. Oh my goodness, that looks so fun. Like, I've driven RC cars and they're super fun too. But like, if you jump them, you break them. Pretty much, I do. This thing, you could drive it like a car and jump it around, but it wouldn't actually hit the ground because you don't need suspension. That's so cool.
Yeah, this is actually using a teensy for anybody who knows what a teensy is. So yeah, pretty cool build here. He goes through the entire concept build and how he designed it, 3D printed everything.
Oh my goodness. That's so cool. I'm tripping out watching it. You could sell the shit out of these, Blunty.
You definitely could
sell the shit out of these. These are going to get cloned.
To me, this is way cooler than like how the little RC cars they've got with FPV on them. This is way cooler. I mean, this is so neat.
The RC cars, I love RC FPV cars as long as you're on a smooth track. As soon as you go outside, and you bounce around, the FPV feed is unusable. Like for crawling, for RC crawling, okay. But I like to go fast, and indoors on a smooth track, it's amazing. This has really got some potential to be very interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not saying I'm going to build it, but it's mighty tempting. That would
be pretty cool.
Yeah.
You've got the printer.
I do have the bamboo. I could print it on the bamboo. Just don't crash it. Someone's got to make one of these, right? Are they going to is his code open source? Is it licensable?
Let's see. It's got it all up on Google Sites.
Yeah.
I believe. Oh no, that's the EjoWorks. He designed it off a couple other things here too. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is a neat idea. If somebody was going to make this, I would think this would be like Axis or Emacs would try to do one of these.
Oh, Emacs should make the shit out. Emacs. Whoever makes one of these. Like, I shouldn't say whoever, because somebody will make one and it'll be shitty and I won't feel good about promoting it. But if anybody who makes one of these, I will 100% make a review video and pump the hell out of it. As long as it's like, don't F it up. Okay, that's the one time I'm not going to drop the F.
Make it good.
As long as it's good, make it good. It looks so cool, though. Looks so cool. All right. We got one more spotlight.
Yeah, next up we got a spotlight. And we talked about MCK before. We talked about him leaving racing.
Right. He quit racing.
But he is back on the news because he's doing some freestyle, and we wanted to show you some of the freestyle from MCK.
And I'll tell you what, Blunty, usually when we show a video like this, we highlight just a few seconds or minutes of it. We don't want to take views away from the original creator, but he's like, I'm just going to enjoy this and we're going to watch it because like Min-Shan Kim is one of the most talented and popular racing pilots out there. If you don't know who he is, well, he's only got 29.5k subs. Well, head on over to his channel. He's amazing. And we're going to check out, what do you call this, spangy, Blunty? It's kind of, I feel like it's a little bit spangy. What do you think?
Kind of. It's maybe a little flowier than that, but yeah.
Yeah.
I really like the style, though. It reminds me of his racing style, to be honest.
It's got way too, like, a Spang pilot would never have flown straight for that long in a row. But I think some of the little rewinds and locks are a little spangy. Like that little move there, some of the isolations feel kind of spangy. But it's a little easier to watch than Spang. He's insane. This guy's... Go under the bridge. Go under the bridge. Thank you. Oh, we're going back under it again. Okay. He's insane. Dude is such a good pilot. I think he should quit racing and just do freestyle. Go under the bench. Go under the bench, Min-Shan. He should just be like, screw racing. I'm going to do freestyle now.
Yeah, excellent.
Ooh,
excellent.
Excellent. Excellent. Excellent. So clean. Oh, we going down through here? Sure, why not? He's not even really cutting loose here. I've seen him do some stuff that's... Oh, okay. I've seen him do some stuff that's just ridiculous. Oh, damn. If he really got into freestyle, like this is just him warming up. If he actually focused on freestyle like he does on racing, everybody else would be in big trouble. Yeah. All right, well, we got a link to that down below if you want to check out the rest of it.
Black Jungle with the memes today. I like that one. It's a good one.
You like that one? Oh, we got to show it. That's not... Oh, wait, I have to switch seats. It's not entirely true. I think a lot of people... I only say that when the video is spangy in style. That one was a little spangy.
That's fair.
That's all I say. You're not supposed to make fun of me with the memes, Black Jungle. Oh, sorry. There we go. What was that?
I see the dynamic.
It is the dynamic. What? Oh, my OBS is all fucked up today. Wait, okay, sorry. I'm giving everybody...
All right.
I'm giving everybody motion sickness. Okay. Next up, we have a cinematic of the week.
Yeah, we do. And this one, it's pretty cool stuff. We got some footage of the cliffs in Colorado.
West Side, only 4K subscribers, so head on over there to the link in the video description if you want to see the whole thing. We're just going to take a taste of it. Beautiful, beautiful. Nice color grade. Very stable and smooth. Are we going up to that point? Are we going all the way up? I like the reveal. Go ahead, Blunty. Sorry.
Yeah, no, you're on the right track. Yeah, I like it's just a nice climb, building elevation, tracking the landscape, that sort of thing.
Oh, that's not like a spire. It's a big, like, craggly wall. What do you want to bet someone climbed that?
This reminds me of when you're on the ski lift.
Yeah. Oh boy. Good dive. Oh, that was a ball clencher right there. Oh, that was close. Major props for tucking in there. That's a long walk if you crash.
Really
and
is.
Down we go. Sort of chasing the sun, the shadow. Chasing the edge of the shadow. Nice little dive in. Very nice. Oh, geez. Did we watch the whole thing? Okay, we won't watch the whole thing. We would definitely want to give the views to West Side as well. Link in the video description below. Very nice. Good stuff. Good
All
right. Next up, we're going to tell you guys about some events that may be happening, maybe near you.
Yeah.
But
the first one.
Hold on.
Oh,
hold on. Sorry, Blunty. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Excuse me? Go ahead.
All right. Our first event is going to be FPV Drone Fest UK, and my guess is you already know about this if you have interest in this because it's sold out. But if you want to go as a spectator, you can still go as a spectator. This will be August 25th through the 27th in the UK, and yeah, like I said, there are still spectator tickets, but unfortunately, they have sold out of all the pilot tickets.
Very cool. Looking forward to hearing how that goes.
Yeah.
We've also got the Race of the Low Countries in Belgium. Oh, Belgium, of course, home of the Liftoff development team. Got to visit them once. They took me out for delicious Belgian beer and fries. I almost said French fries, which is, of course, a huge faux pas when you're in Belgium.
Nice.
Belgian fries.
Yeah, so if you're interested, they have the Race of the Low Countries, June 17th and the 18th. And you can find more information out in the video description with the event page and information about how to sign up.
Okay. Great. Now we come to my favorite part of the news, which is when I read the super chats from people who gave us money. It's my favorite part of any event. It's the part where people give me money.
Fair enough.
That's why I really loved my bar mitzvah. No, I wasn't bar mitzvah. I just was going for the joke. Steve Tricks, thank you for a $10 super chat, Steve. Welcome back. I'm building a 6-inch Apex with the new Motor FetTech and Alpha stack. Any tips on how to tune FetTech Alpha? No. I don't tune KISS, FetTech Ultra. I just load presets. So my recommendation would be to load a preset, and it's going to fly amazing right out of the box. That's why you're flying FetTech, right? I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah. Who's a good FetTech tuner? Anybody tuning FetTech Alpha?
I would go ask in the FetTech Discord, personally.
Oh, yeah, good point. Are you on the FetTech Discord, Steve Tricks? That's where I would go. Yeah, I mean, like, I would love to try to be like smart and have the answer for you, but you gotta know, man's gotta know his limitations, and mine is KISS, FetTech, and Alpha, Ultra. Can I still just call them all KISS? Is that bad? FetTech, Alpha, KISS Ultra, KISS.
I don't consider FetTech Alpha to be KISS. Because FetTech Alpha is new code, it's not branched code. Ultra is KISS code, KISS is KISS code, but FetTech Alpha is not KISS code. So.
All right, that's fair. Hammer Denilly, thank you for a $2 super chat, says, I used a dead cat for freestyle. Should I switch to X? Are you happy with how your quadcopter flies? Then don't switch. The difference between dead cat and X geometry is small. It's mostly apparent if you're doing a lot of like sharp flippy floppy roll movements. But generally, I think a lot of times when people ask these questions, they're just kind of looking for an excuse to try something different. And my recommendation would be to build a second quad and try, rather than tear apart a working quad just to do something that has like a marginal difference. just build another quad and build that one with True X and see if you like it better. In general, though, unless you can tell me something about what your quad is currently doing that you don't like, then I don't know. It's not always true. Sometimes you don't know what you're missing, and it's like, no, you got to try this. Like if you asked, should I try a lower latency control link? Like, should I try, I'm running FreeSky, should I try Express LRS at 1,000 hertz? I'd be like, yeah, you should maybe give it a try. You might not know how the latency is affecting you until you tried something better. For Dead Cat versus True X, I don't think it's that big. I don't know, what do you think? Think it's a big deal?
I don't think it's a big deal, but I haven't flown each enough to know that. But I know, like, Ryan Harrell, I believe, said there's not that big of a difference, and he's a guy I trust. So,
yeah.
Like, because people were asking if they should do custom motor mixes, and he's like, no, it's not worth it.
No. You get a little, with a Dead Cat, when you do a snap roll, a tiny amount of yaw will also be induced, and the flight controller will have to compensate for that. If you're doing slow movements, I think the compensation is transparent and you don't notice it. And it's only like on snap moves that it could be a little... If you have really high rates and you're doing snap roll moves, I think you might see a little bit of yaw at the end of the move as the flight controller tries to fight it. But it's real freaking subtle. It's real freaking subtle.
Gotcha.
Kristaps Andresons, thank you for €5. Hello from Latvia. Just wanted to say thanks for your work. Hope you checked out our drone rescue operation we had today. Thank you so much, Kristaps. I think there was an email about that.
He sent it right before the end, and it was all videos without links and stuff, so we'll probably show that next week.
Okay, great. Well, we got your message, Kristaps, and we'll probably check that out next week when we have time to. We just came in too close to airtime. That's what we call it. Do you call it airtime for streaming, right?
I think so.
Why not?
Fair enough.
Hammerdinily repeats their question. Thank you for $2 more. Kristaps, thank you for €2. Kristaps thinks that the fight about the FAA reminds them of the right to repair a lot. Yeah, in that you're fighting a government agency who intends to steamroll you, and there's little hope of success. Yeah, it does remind me of that.
Yep.
Oh, Quick Flash says most of the mixer stuff that people do is the opposite of the changes you would actually want to make. It's messed around with mixing stuff lately, and a proper mixer setup can fix setups with really poor CG and motor layouts. Yeah, I mean, mixer, if you have bad motor layout, then mixer is how to fix it. 100%. It's just that most people, the motor layout is pretty symmetrical, and the CG is pretty close to the center of the motors. And so most of the time, a mixer is not the solution to whatever problem you're having. Matt Sanders, referring to the RC car with the Lidar, says, yay, he made an Avata. Does the Avata drive like that at a fixed altitude?
I mean,
above
maybe
ground?
you would have to, that would be something that it would have to be with the controller, right? With the motion controller. I don't know.
Yeah, okay.
But I don't know if it can. I think it, but you have to point it straight, I think, right? If you point it down, it goes down, but maybe it doesn't hit the ground. I'm not sure.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Al Mac FPV says, I tuned FetTech Alpha and have a great tune for it. Find me in the Discord. There you go. Hey, my Discord server for the win again. There you go. It's the best.
Yeah.
I'm really proud of it. I'm proud of my Discord server I really have no right to be proud of it, because what really makes it great is everyone else who has clustered to it, and the only thing I've done is sort of hold out a light and say, hey, would you guys like to come this direction? But I'm really proud of it in the way that you might just, a parent might look at their child who graduated college and the parent didn't take any of the classes, but they're like just proud. But the full credit to all the people on the Discord server for how great they are. And thank you guys for being so awesome.
Yeah.
Matt Sanders. No, EMA FPV. Thank you for a $5 super chat. Did you get my email with a video of my RX loss? Might be a good topic to talk about. It might be. Probably not on the news. I don't know. Did you get that email? Did he send it to me or did he send it to news?
I think he sent it to you for a troubleshooting.
Well, I'll probably just answer that privately. Especially because the news is not primarily a troubleshooting thing.
Sure.
But we will be doing another troubleshooting live stream on Sunday. I'll be back.
We'll be back to the normal schedule again.
You'll be back.
Yeah, we'll both be back.
Oh, Black Jungle, I missed you most of all. Black Jungle says I'm just happy you're not banning me for making stupid memes. Yeah, well, you keep making memes that make fun of me. We'll see who's getting banned. You still owe me a top plate. Where's my top plate, Black Jungle? Oh, I have exams for university.
He can't ban you before you send the top plate.
He needs to, yeah. I gotta make a vid. I need that top plate so I could make a video about how crappy the drone you handmade was. So get on it. All right, folks, we have come to the end. If you guys have any stuff we need to talk about next week, send it to news@fpvknowitall.com, and we will see you there.
Are we skipping the end of the show?
What? Was there more? Damn it! It's barely news.
We have a
I
whole
was doing
Fairly
so
News
good.
to do.
Oh my God! No, I forgot all about it. I was like Superchats, and we're done.
Yeah, you nailed. I mean, so good. Whole
It
show.
is. I didn't skip anything. Damn it. Okay. Let's do It's Barely News.
All right, it's barely news. This is where we go over stories that are typically quick to talk about that are so forgetful that Bardwell doesn't even talk about them. But today
it's going to be such a good week. I was so
today
on.
we're going to start with the toilet drone, which is pretty self-explanatory, I think.
Is this real? Shut up. This isn't real. This is a render.
I think this is a render / concept. But yeah, this is. I thought this was pretty funny. Toss that in there into the show.
Just fly you a toilet. Okay.
You just hit the button on the app and you get a toilet.
Okay. Oh man, remember that crazy guy who built a Green Goblin style hoverboard and then like several times almost like injured himself when it freaked out and tried to kill him? Well, now you can do it too. He'll make one for you.
Yes, somebody sent me this, and I did not realize this had actually gone up and said they were going to deliver in June, and it is June. So, in theory, we'll be getting these. A couple people have ordered these.
How much
not
are they?
That many. Let's see. I just want to make sure we get the correct.
That's why it's barely news, because we don't do any research into these.
You got it.
I wonder if I could fly like that. Yeah, show me
the total fee is $25,000.
It's not unreasonable.
Or you can get a build kit for $10,000.
But does it include the flight controller software? I guess is the key. I mean, the actual hardware.
I'm sorry. Hold on. This pledge is $10,000 toward a $54,000 total cost.
Oh, that's a lot.
That's a lot. And then they say discounted from $89,000 MSRP. Can't you buy one of those that you put together for $89,000? I mean, like a helicopter? I don't know.
I feel like that's not worth $90,000.
I agree.
No offense, but like I know it's a flaw to look at the hardware of something like this and say, well, it's only $15,000 in hardware or whatever it is, and like obviously the development time and yada yada yada. But $90,000 for this that's a lot.
Yeah,
I don't see it.
Good thing is it's manned, so you don't need a license like you do for any other drone.
Yeah, the FAA's perspective is if you're willing to kill yourself in experimental aircraft, feel free, but don't fly a drone.
Don't expect to not get ticketed or in trouble if you're doing this down a city street like he was, because I believe all of his, after looking back at it, I believe all of his stuff was like marked out, and they like had planned the flights with city officials and stuff. So it looked all sketchy, but it wasn't necessarily as sketchy as it was.
I mean, they didn't show any of the footage like that one time when he tried to shoot a basketball and got the basketball hit him. And the whole thing just went boom, 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 and then dumped him.
Yes.
Yeah, didn't show that.
Did not show that.
Well, there you go. Good luck.
Yeah. I'm going to say don't sign up for that Kickstarter. That's my suggestion.
Not for $90,000. For $10,000, I was thinking about it.
All right. Next up, Airmap is shut down. People might know Airmap as a lance provider for drones. Has not been super popular anytime recently, and maybe that's part of why they've shut down their lance services. But it does appear they are instead going to try to be a UTM/AAM essentially. So from what they're talking about, they're instead going to handle tracking, autonomy, and beyond visual line of sight flights at scale. So it sounds to me like they're transitioning into doing some kind of AAM or UTM, which is like traffic management through an app.
So right now, Airmap is what I use when I want to check like the ceiling in my area, if I'm in a no-fly zone, and if I need to get Lance approval, I use Airmap. What should I use next? What's the replacement? Do we know? I realize that would be an actual news segment, not It's Barely News, but...
Well, as far as I know, what most people are using, let me make sure I have the correct current name. Is it Air Control, right? I believe is the current one, which is a Loft's new version, yeah. Like a Loft bought Air Control, I think, and became that. But yeah, Air Control is the one I use.
All right. Wait. Is Air Control also the one I use? Maybe it is.
My understanding is most people are not using Airmap.
Quad stuff. QR. No, it's not even in that. Air Control. Oh yeah, I do use Air Control. Okay, great.
Okay. Yeah, I don't think anybody will really be affected by this. It's just kind of an update, and why it's barely news.
Yeah. All right.
This
is a good one.
We got a double story. So, the drone in testing, a drone AI was claimed to have killed its human operator because the human operator decided to prevent it. Basically, it didn't follow its direction. So the drone's job was to identify SAM sites and give them to a human operator, and the human operator would say, yes, blow that SAM site up. And the human said no enough times that it instead, inside of the AI mission, blew up the operator.
Now, to be clear, this allegedly happened entirely within a simulator. They did not just take an untested AI and give it access to weapons to blow things up and say, well, let's see how this goes. They were testing the AI in a simulator.
But
and the AI
it turns out
was like, I get points for blowing up SAMs.
Yeah, but it turns out they weren't doing any of this. This is all fake. Because the Air Force says this never happened and the guy made it up.
Oh, sure they do. Oh, uh-huh. Oh, they got to him, Blunty. The deep state got to him.
Yeah, so an update from the RES. Hamilton admitted he misspoke during his presentation. He said the story of Rogue AI was a thought experiment that came from outside the military and not based on any actual testing. We've never run that experiment, nor would we need to, in order to realize this is possible.
Uh-huh. Alrighty, well.
So, yeah.
Good to know. Good to know. What? No, we're not showing that. Fleck Jungle.
Next up, a guy with the drone has helped to catch a criminal, which is a little bit of a flip on what we normally see, which is police with drones or people with drones doing bad things that people catch. In this case, a local homeowner was able to help catch a drone or catch a thief with his drone up in the air. Was able to help track him. Yeah.
Yeah. Let's see here. So what, this guy just had a drone and he saw the cops and was like, I'll help?
Yeah, and the cops were like, hey, can you see this dude? And he's like, yeah, he's right there. And they're like, cool.
I gotta be honest with you. Like, in this case, it feels like the teenager, broke into somebody's house, stole 30 grand. I probably feel okay about this situation, how it resolved. If I'm out flying my drone one day and two cops walk up and are like, hey, help us find somebody, I'm probably, I don't know if I would just be like, yes, sir, I'll do my civic duty. I'm not sure I would, I don't know.
Yeah, it's tough. You don't get, it depends on how much information they provide, right?
Well, right.
Yeah, I mean, if they come up and like, there's a dangerous criminal speeding at 120 miles an hour with a gun, you know, like, is that change? You know what I mean? There's like so many variables that like I could see them going like, help us because X.
They're going to be like, this dude had some weed and we need to find him.
Yeah.
Like,
No,
no.
take it easy, bud.
No.
Y'all have a good luck with that.
Good luck with that. Oh, my drone stopped working. I don't really understand why.
Yeah, my battery has just ended. So.
I try to have as few interactions with the police as possible, like positive or negative, like because you just never know when it's going to be negative.
It's barely news, so I can only say that I watched the headline and did not watch the video. Ken Herring got apparently in trouble with the cops, but didn't get arrested.
I watched the video.
Okay.
So what happened was Ken Herron's friend, and again, I apologize if I get any of the details wrong. I watched like 3/4 of the video, and there was like, okay. Ken Herron's friend was flying in a park, and a cop came up and told him that he wasn't allowed to take off or land from the park, which, by the way, kudos to the cop, because a lot of people would have said you can't fly here. And his friend was like, actually, I can fly here because the FAA says I can, and you can't regulate the airspace. And the cop is like, yeah, no, I know. I said you can't take off or land here. It's a city ordinance or whatever. And the guy wants to argue. And Ken is being like the calm middleman. Ken is like, oh, well, calm down, calm on. Like trying to keep his friend from getting arrested. And the cop is like, I'm going to talk to you now because this guy's not listening to me. And I'm like, since when is Ken the reasonable, level-headed guy in the situation? Oh, it's right. Like I'm taking crazy pills. Oh, but yeah, it's not fun when those rules get passed. But I mean, the cop was if you believe in the law, the cop was right. You don't have to like it, but anyway, that's how I read the situation.
Speaking of believing in the law, Michigan Supreme Court is going to hear a drone case about surveillance, and this might be big for people in Michigan. Essentially, this guy had a bunch of stuff in his backyard, but nobody could see it from the road. So the police wanted to get him in trouble for it and wanted to file an ordinance, a civil ordinance about it. So they flew a drone up and then used the drone footage as evidence to get him in court for basically zoning ordinances. And he's saying that you can't do that. You didn't have a warrant.
That's a violation of his right to privacy.
Yeah, you don't have a warrant. You couldn't see it from the road. You only knew because you went up in a drone. You're above my property and looking down on my property, and that should be expectation of privacy.
Correct me if I'm wrong, Blunty. I imagine that as someone who worked in the cannabis field, you've also had some thoughts about privacy rights and illegal searches and so forth. My recollection is that if something is visible from the air, that's not considered a reasonable expectation of privacy. And so, like, I can't think if I'm right or wrong about that, or if there's any precedent. I'm sure there is, like, because cops use helicopters and planes.
Right. I'm not 100% sure, really, to be honest with you, like how that stuff works out. I'm sure it's state-based too. Yeah. But I think the argument is just that, like, essentially, I don't know. He's claiming that you would have had to have a warrant to be in a helicopter over his house, like to view that information specifically.
That feels like established case law that his lawyer would have like citations for, and
that's sort of where I'm going with
speculate.
This. Like, I expect that this is in court and went to the Supreme Court because there is some kind of understanding here that might be a violation of privacy.
Well, that'd be very interesting if true.
Yeah.
And we're going to resist the urge to speculate about stuff that we know nothing about when there may be actual knowledge in the present. I thought you could fly over. If it was visible from the air, then it was fair game and you didn't need a warrant. Yeah, don't know. It feels different if it's like a drone specifically sent to look in your backyard. But that may not be how the law stands. Better not have been a DJI drone, though, because now you're not allowed to use those. Well,
yeah.
All right, folks. That is going to bring us to the end of the news.
We'll see you next week. It is the end of the news.
At the usual
we'll see you
time.
on Sunday for the Q&A, and we'll see you on Tuesday for the news.
And Monday for another Q&A.
And Monday for another Q&A. Yes.
Yeah. Alrighty, folks.
Okay.
Thank you, Blunty. Good to be back. Y'all have a great week, and we'll see you next time.